everyone, welcome to AnimeCons TV. I'm Elizabeth and I'm here with this week's episode, which is another cosplay episode. Now I'm going to be talking today about a very common cosplay tool used in a different way to get a different result and something kind of cool that you might not think of. And what I'm going to talk about today is the trusty hot glue gun. Mine's really gross, sorry. I'm pretty sure every cosplayer has a hot glue gun. It's really good for adhering most materials. It's good in a pinch to throw in your cosplay repair kit to fix last minute stuff that might fall apart or come apart at the last minute. And it's definitely something I use all the time in a lot of costumes. Now, hot glue guns are used a lot of the time to adhere things together because it's a glue gun, and glue is used to adhere things. But it also melts and hardens, so it can also be used as a really cool way to do details on your costume, especially in props and armor making. So I've used this a few times in a way where it wasn't used to adhere, it was used as kind of a detail or, in one case, almost a structural piece. So I don't have it anymore, I got rid of it a long time ago, but in my Yugi costume from Fushigi Yugi, for the headpiece, what I did for the talons, I guess, for the wings, the orange parts, that's hot glue. And I tried it on kind of a whim to see what would happen, because hot glue sticks, when you hold them up, are very lightweight. And I wanted to make sure what I had on my head for this piece was very lightweight. So what I did was I just layered the glue, and I let it dry, and then I kept layering, let it dry, kept layering it, and not only was it lightweight, but it gave it a really cool, almost organic appearance to it. So it looked, it wasn't smooth, and I didn't want it to be, and it looked really cool. So that's one way that I've used hot glue in my costumes. Another is if you need to do something that's kind of layered. So a couple of years or so ago, my friends and I did a group based on the planets. And I was Mars, so I did mine kind of Roman armor type original design. So this was my shoulder piece, and this is a Gorgon head. And what I did for the tendrils, which are snakes, is the base is, I think this is like Warbler, craft foam, and then Warbler for the head. And then I would do a snake and let it dry, do another snake, let it dry, do another snake, let it dry, which left me with this really cool layered piece that allowed it to have this 3D effect of the different snakes on there. And again, lightweight. I could have maybe used clay here, which could have been a little bit heavier. I also used the hot glue. This is Warbler, but for the nose and the mouth. The eyes are Warbler. So this was another approach that I used for making something out of hot glue. So I'm going to show you another way to do it, which is really cool, and I'll zoom in right here to show you. One other thing you can do is you can make patterns onto a piece of parchment paper, and then you can transfer it onto whatever you're making with a tiny bit of hot glue or something like, or another type of glue, maybe an E6000 or something like that. But doing it on this allows you to make mistakes without doing it directly on what you're working on. So what you can do is take the parchment paper. You want to use parchment paper, not wax paper. It sticks to wax paper too much and doesn't really come off, whereas parchment paper comes off very easily. You can find parchment paper in the same area where you can find wax paper, aluminum foil, things like that at any grocery store. It's used in baking, and it helps to keep stuff from sticking when baking, so if you also need to make cookies, I recommend this too. So I would start by drawing out a shape you want to make, and I'm just going to do a flower. Okay, like that, with the most uneven petals you've ever seen, but that's alright. So I'm going to start here, do the full thing in the middle, and then just trying to keep the same pressure going the whole time on the trigger of the hot glue gun. The one downside of this method is it is challenging to be precise, So if you want something super precise, you might need to look into another method. Maybe just cutting it out of foam instead, or Warbler, and shaping it from Warbler. Okay, and as it kind of forms, it gets kind of nice and smooth, which is really not completely smooth, but it's not super bumpy. And then if it isn't in some places, you can just go back and fill it in a little more. It's kind of hard to see, so I'll lift it up. So there's my flower out of the hot glue. And you let this completely dry and cool down before you touch it, otherwise it'll mess up. So we're just going to wait for that to cool down. So now that that's dry, it peels right away from the parchment paper, giving you this shape, which is a little rough around the edge, so I'm just going to go in and trim that up. But here's my little flower piece that I can do whatever with. It's very easy to paint this. It takes acrylic paint, spray paint very well. What you can also do is do it directly onto foam, and it sticks very well to the foam. So what I'm going to do is just little dots here. Another downside of this method you have to keep in mind is all the little stringies that form with it. They get everywhere. They're pretty easy to pull away, but if you miss them and then you paint over them, that's really annoying. So here I have some just little quick dots here. You could use them to make like a rivet or just a nice raised detail. Once it's dry, that's when I'll pull away these pieces here. You can also just kind of freehand it if you want. So if I wanted like a trim or something, let that dry. Here's a little trim I can add to armor, or probably attach this to fabric as well if you really wanted to. That's another example of how you can use the hot glue to make something cool for your costume. I hope that you found this little tutorial helpful. I know so many cosplayers have a hot glue gun, so next time you're working on a costume, if it's something that this could work well for, I hope you try it out. If you have used this in the past, or if you do in the future, please send us a picture and we'd love to see it. You can email us at podcast@animecons.tv. You can reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and our forums on our website as well. If you have any suggestions for future podcast episodes, be it cosplay or any type of convention-related topic, we'd love to hear it. Just reach out to us on those platforms mentioned before. You can also always reach out to us on our voicemail line, 762-ADEQUATE. We'll see you next week for our feedback episode. Bye!